Hey, Kayla.
Hey, Chelsea. Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Agent Marketing Girls podcast. How are you?
I am feeling like I need another cup of coffee, which I have, but hopefully I can talk today. How are you?
Good. I'll start us off because I was just looking at my Facebook and I have to share something that's really funny that I saw. There's a animal shelter near us and they post the most brilliant like descriptions of all their animals and they go like viral. It's so funny. So I'll show YouTube some of these. But the first one is a cat named Chicken Bacon Ranch Salad and this is her. She's actually pretty cute. I'm
Oh,
not
that makes me want a cat.
I know, and I'm not a cat person, right?
Me
Okay.
neither.
So she came in with a kitten named Dressing on the Side. Okay. But they write these like stories about the cat that some of it probably is true. Like it was talking about how she lived in a trailer park, she was fed, but this is she was having litter after litter, all of that. But then it's just the way that they write, it's so compelling because I'm the same way. I'm not a cat person at all, but I'm thinking to myself, like, well, shoot, I could adopt this cat. Like, I could help Chicken Bacon Ranch Salad. This is another guy. Okay, this little guy.
Oh,
His name is Nuts. Okay, and it says, "This is Nuts. Yes, still. Yes, even post neuter. Yes, the name remains accurate in spirit, if not in anatomy."
oh my gosh, I'm obsessed
I
with this
know.
place.
I know. And then there's one more I have to share with you because it's so funny. This little guy, oh my gosh, you're gonna die when you see him. And there's a point to me telling you all of this too, by the way. I'm not just trying to waste your time. Okay, this is a cat. Is that
Oh my
not the
gosh.
ugliest thing you've ever seen? You can kind
It's
of see
like
the top of
Rachel's
it.
hairless cat.
Yes, it's like it's so bad. So this is what it says. It says this is sewer rat. He's a kitten, allegedly. So
What?
it says, yeah, he says with a little shampoo and a little love, he's gonna be well, still really weird looking, but in a charming, I survived kind of way. So, my point in sharing all of this is, isn't it so funny how if they would have done nothing but like shared a picture of one of those cats and been like, cat A up for adoption or whatever, like they probably would have very few likes, very few shares, very few people coming into their shelter wanting to adopt these cats. But instead, putting their own little like personal twist on it, giving them a story, giving them like a backstory and all of that. Not only does it prove it gives that cat it makes them like more desirable, but also you put like more trust and faith in the people that are caring for them because you're like, okay, like these are people who actually care enough to give the cat a backstory. So clearly they're being cared for now, and I can trust them when they say like they've gotten all their shots and all of those things. So I just think that's a real like clever way to do that. And I think even as agents, we can like find lessons from that we can adapt to our own marketing.
I think a lot of what you just said is what we're talking about today too. Like all those topics of things that they did right, telling a story. They have a brand around how they
Yes.
promote their cats, and the cats have stories of their own. Like they're giving like human qualities to the animal in a
Yeah.
way by giving it that the name, the story, the way that it's written in this on-brand voice for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about today is trust. And I'm going to start with what is the definition of trust because we have a lot to unpack with this and
Yeah.
why we are talking about it. We will get to that in a second. But the definition of trust is firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability or strength of someone or something. So reliability, truth, and the ability of strength of someone or something. So trust is like, I feel like it's the foundation of life, everything, whether it's friends, I'm watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives right now. And I'm like, I'm so thankful for my friends because I would not want any of those women as my friend. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But it all comes back to trust, your marriage, your kids. Like, I mean, who you hire, who you work with, the doctor that you see. I mean, it's everything. So like how do we build that trust? Because we run into a lot of, I think, you know, situations with real estate agents that are, frustrated maybe by their lack of results. And we have this way of kind of reverse engineering, well, like, what are they doing that? Are they doing that? Are they doing
Mm-hmm.
that? And to see like, well, that's probably why you're not seeing that needle move. And we're going to dive into a bunch of that today and try to help you guys build trust through your marketing, because that's when the marketing works. And we have a bunch of fun stories and stats, and I don't know why I'm doing a full recap on this episode as if it's a trailer, but there you go.
Soon to a podcast near you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's funny because I think sometimes when people think of marketing, they think of content ideas or like something clever or fun or exciting, that's, viral worthy, whatever. But marketing is like gently guiding someone to make a purchasing decision. And it's like giving them the information that they need to help them do that. And no one is going to trust you as that guide ironically, if they don't trust you. Like that's the foundation. So if that's not there, then no matter how good your content is, no matter how much time you spend on the reels or how clever you were or how great your guide is, no one is going to want it. Or if they do, they're not planning on doing much with it. And I have some stats about like the current economy as far as like the trust economy and how overall people, like consumers, trust businesses so much less. And I'm going to say it from that standpoint, but also I think if we're being honest with ourselves, even us as, agents and as individuals, we probably are less trusting of other brands as well. The stats I'm reading, it's true for us too. It's not like it's just like, oh, we got to fix these people. Like it's the same thing for us. So one of the things it talks about is like 40% of consumers have stopped buying from a company that they don't trust. That's a significant number. But then on the same hand, it says customers who trust a company are much more likely to become repeat customers and promote the business to friends and family. So like, that's why it's so important. If you want to build a repeat client and referral business, they have to trust you. And because if they do, they're going to tell everyone to use you, right?
And I know this sounds like repetitive because we talk about this all the time, but the trust comes after the knowing and the liking. So first someone needs to know who you are, and then they need to actually like you or your style. And then they're going to trust you. They're not going to trust you before they know or like you. That's not even possible. And when we are thinking about things that we're doing, actions we're taking, a lot of times we're trying to, like, how can we take a shortcut, or how can we, automate this, or how can we have someone else do it for us? Or when it comes to social media or posting on social media or email marketing, someone just said to me recently, they were like, I used to have my email marketing through, I don't know, some program I won't say, and it was all automated and done for me. And I'm like, well, thank God you don't have that anymore, was what I thought. I didn't say that, but she was saying she hasn't been consistent with email since then. And I'm like, well, I'm really glad you don't have that, because God knows what that automated email was sending to your people that wasn't building trust.
Right.
I think about things like, different activities you can do. I mean, there are a million ways to market your real estate business or any business, right? But there are some that are going to build trust a lot faster and some that are going to take a really long time to build trust. If you are, let's just to get to the one that no one wants to talk about. If you're door knocking, when you knock on someone's door, they don't trust you. Like I immediately, for one, will dislike you because you're interrupting my day to talk to me about something that's for you. And it's just, how can we stop that? Like, it's all in the apologetic selling. Like, oh, so sorry to interrupt you, but or like those things aren't trust building. The trust building is going to happen a lot of times before you're ever even talking about the thing that they're going to buy, before they're ever even talking about buying a house. And I was taking notes for this episode and I wrote down, like, you need to be the bridge between their real life and real estate. So you're not necessarily like, if you're over on the real estate side of the bridge, if you can visualize a bridge and your clients are on this side and you're only over here, you're never going to meet up with them. But if you go to the real life side first, if you're on like between life and real estate, you're going to connect with them. That's where the know, like, and trust is built. Then they're going to come over the bridge to you when they need real estate. But no one's coming over the bridge to real estate when they don't even need to buy or sell, or when they don't even know or like or trust you. So like, how can we do things that shift our potential future clients over the bridge to trust us for real estate?
Yeah. I was listening to Amy Porterfield's podcast recently, and she was interviewing Jenna Kutcher, and they were talking about this at one point in the podcast, just about like, they're calling it like a trust recession. But one of the things that they said I thought was interesting, and they were talking about it from like a course creator perspective, but I was like, this is so true for agents too. But it talked about how they were seeing smaller cart close days versus the original or versus like the opening day, whatever. So that what they were talking about is how when they used to put out an offer to be open for like a week, that most of their sales would come on that very last day. But now what they're seeing is that most of their sales are actually coming on the first half of that week. By the end of the week, everyone's already made their decision. And so they're talking about like there's two possibilities why that is happening. One is that people are just hesitant to decide because they're not sure, and then they end up just not making a decision. Or they already knew they were going to buy long before you ever put that offer in or offer out there because they already trusted you. And so I think knowing both of those things, even though we're not talking about selling a course, we're talking about selling someone's house
or selling yourself.
Yes.
You're talking about selling yourself.
Yes. And so knowing both of those things, how can we leverage that? How can we leverage that people need to know that we're the agent for them long before, which is our whole philosophy, right? Like become someone's real estate go-to girl long before they ever need to buy or sell, but also help them make that decision. And that is marketing. That's guiding them to make that decision. So we can capitalize on this in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of ways we can build trust. And I'm excited to break these down.
Should we just get right into it?
Let's just get right into it.
Okay.
Do you want to start with one?
One of the ones that I love that I wrote down is to own, like have like a signature, like to be a thought leader. So like have a signature thing that you talk about and way of showing up that those two things could connect on social media that you become known for. So this is branding without like, I think just to like cut to the chase, at the end of the day, this is all you need a brand. You can't just have real estate graphics or postcards and expect to build this thriving real estate business with clients that you love and people who trust you and repeat referrals. Like that's not going to happen. So you need a brand, but to get the brand, I think sometimes that feels very daunting to people. Like, well, how do I create a brand? And then they go about it all the wrong way. They go like, what colors should I use? What should my fonts be? What should my look and feel be? And that's part of it. But you almost need like the other side of it first. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to take a stand for? So having your signature, you could call it like your signature hot take or your signature, what's another word for that? Like just your, like when you think about like, if you answer this question right now, like what is a real estate truth that most people get wrong? Like that you wish you could just, if you had the opportunity to talk to like everyone you know and you could tell them this and they would believe it, what would you tell them? And like that would be an example of what your hot take could be. That's the content you create through that lens, through like that message that you consistently repeat. And when you consistently repeat it, it becomes your brand and people know you for it. And you can like just, there's so many things you can spin off from that, right?
Yeah. We're going to do another whole episode on trends. I feel like we've beat this dead horse so many times, but we're still like, people aren't getting this. But this goes back to when you are just posting what everybody else is posting, even if you're putting your real estate twist on it, you're not standing out. You're not being a thought leader. You're not standing out in your industry. This is kind of a funny story, but yesterday I took my kids to the zoo and our favorite exhibit there is like our sea lion exhibit. But they had all these sea lions and my kids, this is our first time there for the summer. So they were all like so excited to see them. But we noticed right away that they introduced a seal to the whole group. So they have all of these sea lions, but that they have this one seal. And immediately my kids were like, well, that one's my favorite. And I laughed because I thought, I know exactly why that one's your favorite. And that's because it's different than everything else. Like the poor sea lion, I don't even know if he's done it, or seal has, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. I don't know its name. I know nothing about it, but already they like it because it looks different than all the rest. And I just think that's marketing. That's like how people look at all of this. And so if you're just regurgitating every trend that's out there, thinking, even if you have really great B-roll, even if you,
really
have
professional and polished and have a great outfit.
Yes, a compelling message, all of those things. If you're just saying the same thing that everybody else is saying, you're just another sea lion and you're not the seal that's spotted and standing out and bigger and better than the rest of them, So yeah, we have to be willing to put ourselves out there and stand out, and not to say that there's never a place for trends, but trends are not a marketing strategy.
No, I can't wait for that episode, actually.
I know.
I could go into that right now. We could just change this episode into that.
Yes, exactly. That's our hot take. That's our
hot take. So branding is the association between two things. That's like what it means. And I think you have to decide. So, kind of to circle back to that and how you can be the thought leader, how you can build the trust. What do you want to be known for as your brand? Like, if you were on the outside looking in and you were writing down, like, this is what I want someone to say about me when I'm not there, what would you write down? Like, what would you want those people to be saying? Like, she has like the best communication skills. She's so good at marketing. She really is a thought leader in her industry. Like, I mean, like, what do you want people to say? And
Yeah.
be that and make your content that. Another thing that came to mind is the whole topic of being an influencer. And I feel like a lot of times we'll get pushback from agents that will say, like, well, like, I'm not an influencer. And I'm like, but in order to be a thought leader and get people to trust you, you have to have influence. And that is being an influencer, and not in the, Instagram sense of I'm going to show you all my outfits and my Amazon finds, but in the sense of, here's another definition for you. Influencer means the capacity to have an effect on the character development or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. And I hope that we all want to have an effect on people's decision making skills and the
Mm-hmm.
choices that they make when it comes to our industry, right? Like, if you have, I think, and this is where the trust comes in. There's a lot of, people have had situations where it didn't go so well
Mm-hmm.
and they lost trust on that thing. And so it feels like, how do you know what to believe when
Yeah.
you are scrolling Instagram? How do you know? I was reading a post from Chelsea, or watching a reel from Chelsea Pites, and she was talking about how the algorithm has changed and how it's more about, because we're always in this mindless consumption mode and seeing people we don't even know, and lots of content without context. Like, you'll see like a random parenting tip, and then you'll
Mm-hmm.
see a cute party idea, and then you're going to see this beautiful interior. And then, I mean, it's like all over the place. Our minds are just like becoming, like, it's almost terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Like, our minds are becoming so like numb to this like mindless scroll of strangers who we don't even care. Like, it's just like next, next, next. Like,
Yeah.
it's wild. So how do we break through all that noise? Like, how are you going to break through the noise to still connect with the people you want to find you? And it goes back to the whole, like, oh, I posted something and it didn't get any likes.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you is, or not my question, but I want you to think about this. I could tell 100 of you, 100 different people, to post the exact same thing. I could give you the exact same prompt, the same caption, the same text, and you will all have wildly different results from that post, because some of you have a brand and some of you don't. Some
Mm-hmm.
of you have a community around your brand. Some of you have conversations every day. Some of you stand for something and have hot takes, and some of you don't. And not that you need to like be not that you need to like disrupt things in a
Right.
like negative way, but I'm saying, like, people almost know what to expect when they see your next piece of content, because they've
Mm-hmm.
consumed your content and they know what they're going to get. It's not random, it's not random trends, it's not it's you. It's whatever you wanted to make it. And I think, with that, all of that being said, how can you be the one that breaks through the noise? And that's what we're talking about right now. Like, we're going to go through some additional strategies to keep
Mm-hmm.
diving deeper onto this. Another one I have is creating content that has your face and your voice
Mm-hmm.
so someone can see you. There's so much power in video. And I talked about this recently, but I've been preaching video since 2018. And even then, I was like, it's going to be a non negotiable in the next 2 years. And here we are, 7 years later. It is 1000% a non negotiable. Kayla and I audit people's Instagrams every Thursday through Marketing Therapy Thursday. And every single time, what is the one thing we say every single time
Yeah.
to every single person?
I need your face and your voice. And even some people have done it, but it's still not enough. The problem is we know our brands too well. We know our content too well. We're way too close. It's kind of like, what's that phrase that Donald Miller said, how it's like if you're on the inside of the bottle and you already see all the ingredients.
You're
Like,
trying to read the label from the inside of the bottle.
yes, and so it's hard to see from that third person perspective. But yeah, when we audit people's Instagram, it's like you might think that you've done all of these things, but then when we look at it, we're like, what does she even sound like? Especially, like, I always laugh, like, if you're from like the South, I want to hear your accent, okay? I'm curious about this, and if I don't hear it, like, it's kind of like, oh, like, I want to know your face and your voice, and it does. it gives people the opportunity to get to know you. It puts that barrier down, and it makes you more trustworthy. And I want to say too, like, this is very true for video, for stories, for reels, all of that. But video content is beyond just like reels and stories. One of the things that we've been talking about, even behind the scenes of Modern Agent, is putting more videos in our email funnels and letting people right away like hear from us. So if someone is taking the plunge, even if they're only grabbing a free guide from us, right? That still is giving out your email address. That is still like, you're going to start hearing from this person. That's still a level of like trust, and there might still be some hesitancy there. So how can we reward people right away? And for us, we're like, well, shoot, if we can pop in a video right away that says like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. You're probably thinking this. I'd love to show you more of that. Like, and it can be a quick, 30-second, 1 minute long thing, but like talk about building trust with people. Or even like if someone DMs you, or if you're like responding to someone's stories instead of just writing a message, send them a voice message. 30 seconds I like it because I can talk for several minutes on a voice message. But when people hear like, oh, this is actually her, it's not some AI, it's not ManyChat, it's not an assistant, like it's actually her giving me the feedback, that is so much more powerful than even a paragraph of great text.
It's cutting through the noise. It's you standing in front of them versus you waiting for someone to come to you. No one's coming. No one's coming to you. You have to do things that are going to like put yourself in front of people intentionally, and that's one of them. So it's great you have all these free guides, and and local guides, we love this strategy for growing our database. But how can you tailor the experience to be more personal? How can you make it more about the person getting the thing than about you just adding someone to your database? And yes, obviously we want to grow our database. We want to have more leads in the pipeline. We want to have more referrals. But if we make their association with us feel like an experience and not just like another email they're signing up for, not just another real estate email, then they're going to have such a different perspective on how they view your brand and how they view your business.
Yeah.
And it's really simple. It really is like as simple as sending a voice message as on an Instagram DM, as simple as, we use for just to kind of give you some tips for video, actually we record our podcast in Riverside. So we'll just use Riverside to record a video, and then I'll put it in like Vimeo and link to Vimeo, but there's a million ways you can do it. You could use Loom, you probably use Zoom and upload that video to like a Vimeo, like a hosting platform, so that they can open it somewhere, because I don't think you'll be able to embed it. There's a service I used to use this actually in real estate called BombBomb. I think it's still a thing where you can send video emails. Like imagine someone's first interaction with you. They reach out, they're excited to schedule a mini consult, or they want to have you over to like have a listing appointment, you give them your opinion on listing their house. They aren't decided yet if they're going to hire you. And they get a video email from you telling them exactly what to expect, exactly what's going to happen tomorrow at the listing appointment, what to have ready, what not to worry about, what you're going to bring, how long it's going to be. And it's a video from you. Like, I'm sorry, but that is someone I want to hire to sell my largest asset, not someone who followed every Instagram trend.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. 100%. Well, yeah. And you mentioned that too. Like, what do you want to be known for? I guarantee you not one person listening right now wants to be known for the girl who always does the trends. Like, that's not what we're aiming for. We want to be known as the agent that's trusted, that people are like, I will not work with anyone but her, And yeah, video, there's so much you can do with that. All of that like makes me excited because we've talked so much behind the scenes about like really vamping up our member emails and like giving them more like opportunities and scripts and whatnot to incorporate more of these strategies into that. So I'm excited for all of that coming soon. Okay, another one that I have is social proof. Okay. So let's talk first about like testimonials, online reviews. The biggest mistake agents make, and not just agents, everybody makes, is just posting a picture of the review as their piece of content for the day. You think about user behavior. If people are getting online to pass some time or to just be entertained or to just, escape for a little while, when they see that review on your graphic that's just like, she was so great to work with, la 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 la, even if it's kind words, all they're thinking in their primal brain is, how is this going to benefit me? And the truth is it isn't. And so they don't care. They pass right by.
They
So
probably only see the part that says testimonial. And then they're like, scroll. So they're
scroll.
missing the opportunity to learn how you actually help that person.
Yes. So, what are better ways to do that? How can we still share what people say about us, even if, if someone posts something to Google or something? Like, how can we, like, draw attention to that without just making it a graphic?
I have a really good example.
Yeah, do it.
So I saw this actually it's on Threads, which I'm not getting into that strategy right now, but this is talking about, it's not related to real estate at all, but I'm going to tell you how to relate it to real estate. I'm just going to read the beginning. It's like a thread that has like the ongoing threads underneath it, but this is the part that would have like stopped the scroll. It said she built a membership she was proud of, steady revenue, solid retention, real results. But every time she thought about offering one-on-one coaching, her stomach dropped. What if I can't deliver? What if I raise my prices and no one buys? What if I sound like those coaches? We changed all of that without breaking what was already working. This is from I don't know how to pronounce her name. Jereshia Hawk.
Yes.
Jereshia Hawk. So let's just twist that. So it keeps going to tell the rest of the story and then like what the outcome was. Yes, she offered one-on-one coaching and yes, she made more money. Spoiler alert. But let's do this in context for a realtor. So she built a membership she was proud of. This could be because you're talking about your client, right? She sold her house for more money than she expected. Or no, you wouldn't want to start there. She bought a house she was proud of. She made it her own and pride of ownership shown through, blah, blah, blah. But every time she thought about selling, her stomach dropped. What if she couldn't find something better? What if the payment got too high? What if interest rates made her unable to afford what she really wanted, but her family's growing and she needs more room, blah, blah, blah. And then we changed all of that without or I helped her navigate a plan from point A to point B, and now she's in her house that she loves, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, that was kind of a choppy example, but
That's
basically
so
what
good.
that is you're using the story to make someone envision themselves in it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're telling that story versus just like your client testimonial that's like, Chelsea was so great to work with. She was what are people even saying? Like, she was very professional,
Professional.
whatever.
Yeah.
But if you can then say, okay, what did, Julie love about working with me? How can I use that to tell the story of how they reach their real estate goal and make it where someone envisions that? For example, the line where she said her stomach dropped made her feel like her stomach dropped. That is something that probably a million other people are thinking and feeling.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now they can see themselves in it. And that's going to build trust because someone's actually seeing the story of how you use your expertise and guided someone to the desired result that they wanted without just saying just sold or client
Yes.
testimonial, or again, it's not billboard marketing. Billboard marketing
Right.
doesn't build trust.
Yep. I have an example of that. I actually just started working on this post, so maybe I'll save it for when this episode comes out. But it was talking about how when you actually market the modern way, you have so much more content to put out there than if you do it the old way. So here's a graphic that I made. In the middle, if you look on YouTube, it just says one closing. And then up here, it just says one just listed or just sold post. So, or like one just sold post for the closing. So, like, it would just be like, they closed. Like, it was exciting. Congrats to my sellers. The end. Okay. The modern way, and I'll read these to you, but you see all of the different circles that come from here, right? So the modern way is to say the MLS search versus the home they bought carousel post. Then you can say, okay, I got a closing gift from this local spot. I have to tell you about it. You can also have another carousel or an email maybe that says one DM can change your life and how that client originally reached out to you online. Then you can say they spent $500 on an inspection and saved $20,000 in repairs. If that doesn't pique your interest, I don't know what will. One could be, what should I wear to closing today for an Instagram story? The weirdest thing I ever saw in a basement. Like, when you break it down like that, you actually, you can have only sold one house in a year, and you could still have plenty of content to talk about that whole experience in 1,000 different ways that positions you as the expert, right? Like, we don't need to sit there and be like, well, I don't have any clients, so I can't do this. That's not true. Like, even if you've only ever met with one buyer, even if you didn't even sell a house, you can talk about how, like, she was nervous, like what you just said. You know what I mean? Like, her stomach dropped when I told her, like, expect these things. There's so much more you can do with it. I saved a couple more, too, that I thought were really good. This is from Coming Up Roses, and let me pull it up here. Okay, yes. So this says she put 9 creatives who have transformed their business through launch campaigns. So it's just like this, but then as you swipe through, you see pictures of different clients with just like a sentence or two of something that they've done. That's a great way to showcase your client testimonials, but also like put a name and face to it, especially if you're a local agent. Like I'm thinking like in my small town, I would probably know half of those clients. Like I'd be like, oh, that's so cool that they did that, or I didn't realize they were able to purchase that or whatever. And then another one that I found, let me find it here again, sorry. Actually, I think it's Coming Up Roses again, but she did a post with Xanthi Appleyard, and it was actually, I saved it because I was like, that's a cool way to promote their podcast, because they have a thing here where it's a picture of both of them. They're kind of pointing to their stories, but then as you scroll through, they're saying like this one says, on finding your people, and then there's like a quote from them there. So I think like if you have like a closing, or if you have like testimonials you want to share, you could be like, on meeting me for the first time, and then it could be like, I was so nervous, but she was actually really warm and friendly, and like she bought me a coffee or whatever. But like scroll through and like show people little bits of what they say. You can basically share the same testimonial 18 different ways, and people are going to think, and it's not about being deceiving, but people are going to think you're selling a ton of real estate when really you're just doing modern marketing.
I wrote down this quote, and it says, do you know what will make you look busier than just listed and just sold graphics in your feed? Documenting the process of just one of them.
Gosh, yes.
And I'm using this on Instagram, so I had it in my Instagram notes. But seriously, like what Kayla just explained in all of those examples, it's how can you squeeze all the juice from one? And it's not even about, like you said, to be deceitful, to make it look like you have a million things going on.
Right.
But it's more like, how can we, that's the thought leadership. That's taking the one thing and talking about it 20 different ways. That's where people start to like recognize and like trust you, because you're showing up, you're creating this like sense of reliability because you're showing up frequently, and reliability equals credibility. It all connects, right?
Yeah.
And I think like with all of these examples, like what can you do today? Because I know like then you layer on the aspect of like, well, I don't have time to do all these things. Like what are some ways that they can do this and save, and not save time, but not spend hours and hours creating all these individual pieces of content, you know?
I mean, shameless plug, join Modern Agent Social Club. We help with this. But also, I think after, especially like as you're working with clients, if you have a notes app open in your phone that's just like clients, and all you do in there is set, like if someone asks you a question that you're like, ooh, that's interesting, or I've actually been hearing that a lot lately, I'm going to put that in there. Or if you think of like a easy way to explain something to somebody. I know we've had a lot of questions about like, how do we explain this buyer broker agreement? Like, how do we explain it in a way that doesn't make them run? When you find that wording, save it. You know what I mean? I think you can do that with all sorts of things that, like I just said, you know, I've shared before, like about different closings that I've had over time where I'm like, man, I could talk about how they were so sad to sell the home that they've worked so hard to build, but also they were so ready. This is one of my best friends I helped, but then they were so ready to not have all of the responsibility of caring for the land, caring for all the animals, caring for the garden. And now they live in town and they're like, oh, there's so much freedom here. But also they were able to like leverage their equity. How could they move from one home to now suddenly not having a mortgage payment? You know, like all of these different things that they're able to do. I could talk about all the houses we saw and how, you know, sometimes it was like they were trying to make a house work, but deep down I was like, this isn't what you said that you wanted, you know, like, so guiding them through that decision, I could probably have 10 different stories of things that are ways that I helped or questions that they had, and, you know, mindset shifting perspective that, yeah, would totally position me as a thought leader in like the real estate industry, if that's something.
You know, as you're saying all this, so we are almost at the end of the tunnel with our new members website, but we're talking about making these collections, you know, and like collections that someone could go in and be like, okay, I want all the different things you just said about documenting the process of like my buyers buying a house, like all the different ways I could talk about it. Like that needs to be one of our collections, because like then they don't even need to think about it. It's like, go through this list and pick like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. Like you'll have so much to work with, and you'll really get the most out. And maybe again, what else is cool about this is sometimes you might have a transaction where you're like, there's not like a lot to say about
Right.
this one. And then other ones that are like really exciting, and maybe the house is just super charming, or the clients were
Mhm.
just amazing, or really difficult. And you have a lot to talk about there too. But
Mhm.
regardless, like sometimes you have one that's really not like that, or maybe it doesn't align with your brand. Like for example, let's say, you sold like an estate property and you're like, I don't really want that to be my brand. So I'm going to probably shift away from having that be like a repetitive
Right.
story. That's where you can lean into like the one transaction and really keep repeating and deep diving into it. But another thing that I wanted to share really quickly is I shared this with our members recently. It was setting up content stations, I called it. And when I say stations, I just mean like in your little bitty phone. And to be able to make this stuff work so much easier. So, for example, you mentioned having a notes folder of
Mhm.
ideas or stories from clients, questions they ask, things they say.
Mhm.
Like, even if you take an exact sentence, like again, that my stomach dropped thing, write
Yeah.
that down. Like, that's going to relate to so many people. Another one is having like your go-to Canva template. So, for my personal brand, which I have forever been for not forever, for the last year have been very like ignoring of it. I'm like I'm done ignoring it. I need to show up every day cuz like yes, we Modern Agent has a great brand, but I still want mine to be like something. And so I like made a graphic. I'm like, I'm just going to use the same exact one on repeat. I'm not creating another one. I'm going to use
No.
this one when every time I do a storytelling post, I'm using this exact same graphic. So have your go-to graphic or template,
Mhm.
a go-to spot to record reels. There you're creating a brand because you're creating this repetitive like
Yeah.
look. So it could be in your car, it could be in your kitchen, it could be like I think Jessica Garvin, she's always at her window stirring her iced coffee. Having your go-to days to post, even I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Stop
Mhm.
thinking about anything else. Just those are your days. Move on with your life and
Yeah.
make it really easy. Create an on-brand album in your phone or two. So you could have like a B-roll album, and then like it could be like behind the scenes, just like photos you take of showings,
Mhm.
clients, closing gifts, the front seat of your car, all the things. And then the last one was go through our stock photos and save the ones that match your brand aesthetic. So you can use those to kind of pop into like emails or Instagram stories or behind the scenes of a carousel post or whatever.
Mhm.
So like having that set up, now you're not always like scrolling all the way through your camera roll, like what date was that? Trying to type it in because you take 80,000 screenshots like I do. Or you're not trying to you're not trying to find everything. Have a folder
Mhm.
in your phone of like when a client emails you and you like what they say or something, put that in
Yeah.
there and start just accumulating all this stuff. And what will actually probably happen is you won't keep revisiting that stuff. You'll kind of just get your go-tos. You'll be like,
Mhm.
this is the graph or this is the template I love. This is the wording that I'm going to keep like honing in on and maybe like
Mhm.
using three different ways. Like us, how many times do we say real estate go-to girl?
Mhm.
That's not on accident.
Right.
That's to build the brand that we want to be known for.
Yeah. And that builds trust. People see
Mhm.
that. They know that what we're talking about. We're not explaining a brand new concept every single day. We're not saying one thing and then getting frustrated that 5 weeks later nobody remembered what it is. And that's the other thing I was going to add is like, talking about all these different ways to build trust. One of the easiest ways to build trust is clear messaging. When you know who you're talking to, when you know what you talk about, everything gets so much easier. And not being afraid to be repetitive, being consistent. And we talked about consistency in a few episodes ago. Choosing like what you said, choosing when you're going to be posting, choosing when you're going to be sharing, and then sticking with it. Sometimes, especially agents, when you think about the fact that the average agent, a significant chunk quit after year 3, right? So sometimes people just want to see, like, is she even going to stick around? Like, is she really in this for the long haul? Not because they don't trust you, but because they've maybe been burned before. The other thing is like personalizing things, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, but like if you want a clear message, put your own twist on it every time. That will make your content look like it's only from you. Even if you use your membership like Modern Agent, if you always add your own little twist, no one's going to guess that you got this from someone else. They're just going to think you're a creative genius. But then the last thing I was going to add is like under promise and over deliver. And I love the whole idea of like, you want to paint this picture of what it's like to work with you, but you don't want to make people come in and expect oh, I'm going to get all of these things. I'm going to have this big closing gift, and then she's going to bring me a coffee every time I go to a showing. We're not going to do, but like showing them little, like, delightful surprises along the way. It's going to make them, it's almost, I don't know, like, how would you word it? Because it's not a matter of like lowering the bar or making people think that you're just another agent. Like, you still want to show that you do those things, but like, how can you like incorporate those little surprise moments of like, hey, I got you, you know?
Well, I think it's making each client experience like an experience so that people it's recognizable that that's what you do. That's how you are. But in addition, popping in little custom touch points and not I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean 10 different things, but like for example, one time I had clients, their movers were delayed and they weren't going to be there till like 5 p.m. Well, they close at 9 in the morning. So I went and dropped off a gift card to a local, they loved burgers. So I picked like the
Mm-hmm.
place that had really good burgers, dropped off a gift card and said, go get lunch while you're waiting, blah, blah, blah. Like that type
Yeah.
of stuff. You're tailoring it per client depending
Yes.
on who they are, what the situations are. Like pop in when it feels like it makes sense, right? And
Right.
have something. Your goal could even just be like throughout the journey of working together, I'm going to have one in surprise moment. So in your head, you kind of have in your subconscious like when to pop that in, when to like make it happen. Like it'll become obvious throughout the
Mm-hmm.
transaction when that is maybe needed. Like maybe they lose out on an offer and you deliver them crumble cookies or something and you're like, it's okay,
Right.
we're still going to keep looking.
Right.
It always works out for the best, right? Like we've all been there. I mean, we lost out on 3 houses before our first one and I loved our first one way more than the other 3. So like
Yep.
it's knowing that you can make them feel reassured, you can make them feel
Mm-hmm.
confident, which actually this is another trust thing. Your confidence level
Yeah.
equals trust. Not that you are overly confident and like, because I think that can sometimes push someone away, but that you feel confident. So
Mm-hmm.
we recently, so this episode's airing July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
We recently did a bunch of interviews for our new lead content creator position.
Mm-hmm.
And something we noticed with a handful of them is that they weren't confident in
Mm-hmm.
their interview. And I'm like, it brought up this whole new topic to us because we're like, how are they interviewing if it was a real estate agent? They weren't all
Right.
real estate agents that we interviewed, but if they were an agent and they were going to a listing appointment, like they probably wouldn't get it because
Right.
they just didn't have enough confidence in themselves to be able to get the job done. And like you maybe inside you don't feel super confident, but you have to find a way to like express confidence and like
Yeah.
grow in that because if you want someone to trust you, you better trust yourself and you better be
Mm-hmm.
sure of yourself, even if it's just on the outside, because
Yeah.
it is not a good feeling to hire someone for this like a really important serious thing when they're not even confident. So like whatever that is for you to build confidence, like listening to audiobooks that help you build your confidence,
Right.
having affirmations, learning the lingo, like learning how to talk to people. Another one I wrote down that kind of goes hand in hand with this honestly is sometimes when people are like I think when they want to portray that confidence, they use like all the industry jargon and these big
Mm-hmm.
words and like real estate talk that the general public doesn't understand. That doesn't build trust though. That's like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Now I'm just more confused than ever. Like, have you ever talked to a doctor who is way above your head? You're like, what just happened? What did you say?
Guys.
Say 2 things that you told me, which I had
Right.
the best doctor experience yesterday. He was like, "Oh my god, I'm like, how are you a doctor? The 2 things don't match, like your personality and the doctor thing." Anyways, he made me feel so like comfortable though. I
Good.
trust him. I'm like, I trust him. I don't half the doctors I've ever seen in my life, I'm like, I don't trust you. Okay, anyways, talk like a human is where I'm going with this. Cut the
Mm-hmm.
jargon, speak like a real person. That is what makes thought leadership feel approachable and relatable. So
Yeah.
that's even going back to what we were saying with testimonials, storytelling, talking about your listings, talking about your clients, like all of that comes into like instead of using words like that only would be in the real estate handbook or that only your broker would
Mm-hmm.
say or that only would be in an article from NAR or whatever, like use words that are going to make sense to the person you're talking to. And
Yeah.
even if you have to like, I mean, you could even do this, like put it in ChatGPT and say like, how would you explain this to a 10-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
That could kind of help you soften the way you
Yeah.
talk about things. But those 2 things alone, confidence and then talking like a human,
Yeah.
that's going to build so much trust.
You know, building off of that, one thing that I wrote down was like talking about things that are relevant for that current time. when people, I noticed the other day, I saved a post that was talking about like what your Netflix queue says about you or something. And I just thought like, ooh, she has a Netflix queue too. Like, so do I. But talking about mentioning things like Netflix, another buzzword is your nervous system right now, how to regulate your nervous system. When people incorporate those things into their marketing, it's almost
Mhm.
like you can tell that they didn't create that post 8 months ago and they're just regurgitating it, but it's actually something that they've actually thought about. When they mention a show that they just watched, it makes you think like, oh, I just watched that last night too. What does she say about it? The other thing is when they talk about Taylor Swift opening her own music, and I just have to stop for a second and say, this is episode 27. This is the first time I've mentioned Taylor Swift on this episode. And I just feel like I either should be ashamed or I should wear like a crown or a sash that says like congratulations because I'm so obsessed with her.
Wait, do you mean on the podcast or this episode?
On the
Oh,
podcast. I have not.
you said episode. Yeah, this is the first time you
Sorry.
mentioned her
No.
on the pod. Oh my gosh.
We have not talked about Taylor Swift, but you know, we kind of came in post Eras tour.
Mhm.
So maybe some people are kind of tired of it, but like we could do so many marketing things about her. But right now, like the big thing recently has been that she was able to acquire all of her music. So now she owns it all. And like, gosh, there's so much you could say about that, from like what fandom really does or like just girls uniting. I mean, all these things. When
Mhm.
people are writing about that, even still, I'm like, I want to know their take. So yeah, as you're saying, like speak like a human. I think speaking about relevant things when you're able to say, I mean, it's kind of like for realtors, like it would be more a matter of like, instead of just saying like, if you want to own your dream home, instead of saying that, you could say something like, are you ready? Like this summer, are you ready to move into a neighborhood where your kids have friends they can play with and they can just be outside all day and you can finally have a little peace and quiet inside? Or are you ready to move to the country where there's not a million neighbor kids in your house all the, you know what I mean? Like when you say things like that, people that are scrolling are like, oh my gosh, she sees me. You know, they're not going to stop for like, I can help you find your dream home. They're going to stop if they're like, oh my gosh, it's like she was in my house yesterday.
And that's how you use something on Instagram that maybe feels like a trend, but it's your own clear messaging. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
copy paste trend, because that is going to make it's, well, A, the fact that it's relevant, but it's also completely unique to you. Because no, I mean, yes, someone else could say the same thing, but now you pair it with a B-roll clip of yourself. You use like a specific word, or even I love when people use things like Target or
Mm-hmm.
Costco or a local spot. Like if you have like a like what grocery store or market is local to you, like it makes someone see that and think that's for me,
Yeah.
that I should keep reading this, or I should go look for more. What else is coming from this account? Like really pay, like I always say this, but pay attention to your own user behavior too. Like it tells us so much about what works and what doesn't. And when
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking to yourself like, okay, I posted that and it didn't get any likes, like there's so much more to it. There's so much
So much more.
beyond just someone liking it. And again, that example of like if 100 people posted the same thing, they're going to have drastically different results. It's so true. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because some people are, they have been consistent. They have their face on camera. They're out in their feed. They're having conversations with people. They're building trust. The trust is
Yeah.
is there. And yes, someone new may come, but the thing is when someone new comes and they click on your account and they see content that feels cohesive in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that you have similar patterns and things that you talk about, or you have similar styles of messaging, you have similar look to your content. Like everything feels like this is like a place. Like this is,
Mm-hmm.
I love the example of your brand was a store. What would it look like, sound like? What music would be playing? What would the seating look like? What color would it
Yeah.
be? Like think of that like your feed, or I like to say the party example. If you hosted a party,
Mm-hmm.
what would it look like? And that can give this sense of like experience, but also the sense of I belong here and I want to
Right.
know more from you. And now you're building trust, right? You know who I don't trust? The people that share 18 million things from Amazon a day. I'm like, first of
Oh,
all,
yes.
I'm highly concerned for your garage and the amount of boxes because I have so many and
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere near the amount of things you're ordering. But how can you really like this many things? Like that is not even
Well,
realistic.
they're returning most of it, which is what
100%.
makes you
But
sick.
that's
Yeah.
where I'm saying, like, user behavior, what about that? If I wanted to dig into, like, what about that makes me not trust them? Like, and it's just like, oh, they're just trying to make money. Oh, they're just trying
Mm-hmm.
to, what is it? Like, what, if you had to, like, pick that apart, how can you relate that back to, like, real estate?
Well, I think it's tone deaf. Nobody can afford to buy that many things from Amazon every week. And you're not going to tell me, you're not going to convince me that this is really your go-to thing all summer long, because you have 25 different go-to things and only so many weeks in a summer, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I think relating it to real estate, when you are saying things out of line, like when you are saying things like, you know, now is a great time to buy. Well, guess what? For most people, it really isn't. Now, that doesn't mean that some people shouldn't buy right now. It doesn't mean that some people, the best move for their specific situation is that they do, but that's really tone deaf. You know what I mean? Talking about like, well, I know like, yes, interest rates are 7%, but renting is 100%. Like
Mhm.
it's so not empathetic. It's not being aligned with your community. For most, I mean, I guess every community is a little bit different, but I think for the most people, most agents right now, and that's where they're at. And I think the bottom line is like, the truth is like, we believe modern agents are the best. We believe they're the best marketers. We believe that they're the best agents, the most trustworthy agents. We want you to come across like that in your community. I remember I learned this quote a long, long time ago when I was like helping with youth group stuff at our church, where they talked about, it was Andy Stanley, and he said, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. And I remember just thinking like, okay, the truth is like, I can't be everybody's hero. I can't be the person that swoops in all the time and is able, like, I would love to like just go up to a billion people in my community and say, hey, I got your groceries this week, or I got this. Well, I can't do that, but maybe I can do that for one person. Maybe I can say, hey, I have this or whatever. And I think that's the same thing for modern agents. You might not be able to do the most trust building things in every capacity. You might not be able to tackle this entire list that we talked about today. You can do one thing, and you can go out of your way for one of your clients, because like you said at the beginning, building trust is ultimately about building a brand. If your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, the actions that we've given you today are what are putting the words in their mouth, right? So yeah, I don't know how else to sum that up, but I feel like that's
Well,
important for people to know.
that combined with what we just talked about with the Amazon example, I think the piece that sometimes is missing is that we lead with logic over emotion. We lead with the
Mm-hmm.
logic of like, well, I'll show my expertise through these, how to buy a house posts, or I'll show, this 30-page guide about selling will show that I'm an expert and blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. But like, you're missing the emotion, and people buy with emotion and they justify with logic. We've talked about this
Yeah.
before too, but I have an example I want to read. It was
Mm-hmm.
an email. I had to fit this in here somewhere. It was
Mm-hmm.
an email from a copywriter, BTL Copy, which actually I think I found Adrian through her,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
also shout out to Adrian. Adrian, our podcast editor, is amazing.
Yes.
And she was such a good decision to add to our team
Mm-hmm.
because she does such a good job. I was in fact driving in my car the other day listening to our podcast, not in a narcissistic way, but like I listen because I need to like get content ideas and also improve the things we say and talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there was an ad at the beginning about leaving a review, and I was like, oh my God, like this whole podcast is just out here, and all I do is sit here and hit record and walk
Yep.
away, and it's all amazing and like so good. And like there's an ad
Yeah.
on my podcast I didn't even know. It's so cool. So anyways, thank you, Adrian. We trust her very
Yeah.
much.
She's the best.
I found her through BTL Copy, which is where this email came from. And it was part of her email. And I just took up, like, I saved this one section of it because I'm like, every agent needs to know this. They need to know
Yeah.
this when it comes to marketing. She talked about how she just bought a house. She said, then at the end of last summer, I bought myself a house. She's a beautiful house, over 100 years old, in a gorgeous suburban town with a stunning front porch, a white picket fence, a lush green backyard, big enough to play in, and walking distance to all the necessities: farmer's market, playground, ice cream, the gym, coffee shops. Here's where you need to listen and underline or write down what I'm saying. I still pinch myself when I think about how well everything worked out and how I manifested the F out of getting exactly what I wanted, but I won't get all woo on y'all RN right now. She is such a brand voice, like it's crazy. Before moving in, I didn't realize how much I was craving stability. Before moving in, I didn't realize how untethered I felt, how physically and mentally exhausted I was. Before moving in, I didn't know how much having a definite, secure, mine because I earned it home base would impact my nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's like mic drop.
I know, like all of the things she said. And yes, she's a copywriter. Most of your home buyers are not expressing their inner thoughts
Mm-hmm.
about buying, but they have them. They all
Yeah.
have them, or about selling. Like you need to tap into the emotion behind the buying and the selling more than you do the logic. Because someone's
Yeah.
going to see. So take, for example, you gave the posting about like, well, interest rates are 7%, but renting is 100%. Like that is tone deaf. No one's going to see that and think like, oh my gosh, they're going to be like, screw you. Like
Right.
I can't afford
Exactly.
to buy a house right now. Like I don't like you. So
Yeah.
how can we flip that is like using content like, hey, it's okay if you have to rent right now. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to buy, here's my best advice. Or here's what this other client of mine did that
Yeah.
it took 2 years, but here they are. Like that's inspiring. That
Yeah.
feels like something that I trust you now because you're not making me
Mm-hmm.
feel ashamed. You're making
No.
me feel empowered and like and also like permission slip marketing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have permission to keep renting and not beat myself up about it every day. Like it's
Yeah.
okay to be renting. Like how could you make your rental more cute and in a few more years you can buy your own place. Like there's so much opportunity there. And I
Yeah.
think so many people go about it the completely wrong way. And in any industry, not just real estate, like it could be
Mm-hmm.
shaming you because you don't use modern marketing, like it's
Right.
anything.
Yep.
But how can you make someone feel empowered? And it's such a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all of this so much. I feel like hopefully this is a good reminder for people. I know a lot of times people like tuning in because it's like, oh, I got all these ideas. I hope that this does give you a lot of ideas. I hope it gives you ideas to improve your marketing, improve your messaging. This is the kind of stuff that is going to change your business for the long haul. It's not going to be, the immediate like, oh, I know what to post today,
Mhm.
but it's going to be the things that's like, okay, you know what, like the next client that reaches out to me, they're going to reach out to me every time they have a real estate question for the rest of their life. And
Mhm.
that's what you want. That's a sustainable business, that's going to give you the freedom that you wanted the first time that you got into the business.
And just like building a personal brand, building trust, which is completely connected to that, it is the
Mm-hmm.
long game. It's not going to happen in a single post, in a single story, even in a single week of following a plan. Like it is going to take time and repetitiveness on your part, consistency. And that's what's going to build the trust in the long run. That's what's going to build the long-term business, the long-term
Yeah.
success that you don't have to try to figure out every day anymore. Can I read one of the reviews we got today for the
Yeah.
podcast? I just love this. So we could, again, as we just talked about how to take a review and pick it apart, we could use so
Right.
many things with this. But she said, love, love, love. It's like the best book where you can't wait for the next chapter. And like all good books, when I get near the end of an episode, I slow down because I don't want it to end. Always a great nugget or two I can run with. And sometimes it's just the pep talk I need. Is it Tuesday yet?
Oh, I love that so
A
much.
book I can't put down. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So like she
Yes.
used cool wording that we could definitely, take and run with.
Yeah.
But I hope that like it is like the book you can't put down. Like there's no ending or finish line. Like we want to be this little voice in your ear that keeps you going and keeps you thinking, bigger and the
Mm-hmm.
whole modern agent standard episode that we did like is all part of this. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yep.
listening.
I love that. Guys, this was so good. I can't believe we're almost 30 episodes in. We love hanging out with you guys every Tuesday. Um, and yeah, I think that's it for this week.
I think that's
You have
it. All
anything else
right,
to
guys.
add?
We will
Awesome.
see you next Tuesday.
Bye.